Okay, so we're going to develop C-41, and we're going to do a roll of 120 Hectare 100. And with C-41, it's very simple, it's very straightforward compared to black and white film, which there's different temperatures, the speed of the film matters, times change from each type of film, so it's a little more involved. And learning C-41 is probably a good starting point in developing film and then moving to black and white. So this is a Patterson tank. You can do 2 rolls of 35mm in it, or you can do 1 roll of 120 in it. Other than that, I have beakers, but you can use the simplest things to measure the chemistry out. I have a film squeegee, but it's really just a sponge, so you could do that from the store. I have a pretty basic kitchen thermometer. The most important part is that you're able to read the numbers. And for the C-41, I'm using the Unicolor kit, and the instructions are pretty straightforward. When mixing it, they are dry. There's 2 parts to the Blitz, but it will end up in 1 bottle. So you need anything really, but something dark. You can actually buy bottles, or you could use a ball jar and tape it to knock out the light to keep a hold of the chemistry. You need a developer, your Blitz, and your stabilizer. So three containers of about 1 liter in size is what the mix makes. So once you have the chemistry mixed and you're holding on to it and you have more film to develop, the method that I use in order to get it back up to temperature is I use a plastic bin, and I put the developer and the Blitz, both of which are very temperature sensitive. It's really important that the chemistry be at the right temperature. If it's too hot or too cool, it will change how the film is developed, and it will affect the photographs greatly. That's pretty much the only part to it that's tricky. Everything else is very straightforward. So I measure out the chemistry, I bring water to a simmer, and then I fill up the bin about 3/4 of the way, and that usually will take about 20 to 30 minutes to come up to temperature. There's not really a straight answer to how many rolls of film you can get out of the Unicolor kit or another C-41 kit, and how long the chemistry lasts. You get to reuse all the chemistry. We're in black and white, stop bath you dump, developer you dump. So part of this video is my chemistry is 30 days old, and this is going to be the last day that I use it, and this is my 12th roll of 120. In the instructions, I believe it stated 6 rolls of 120, and there's not that much out there, but there is some things where people have done like crazy numbers of 30 to 40 rolls, and then they just keep extending the development time. So this is just as a safe point. Chemistry mixed, 30 days old, 12 rolls of 120, which takes 500 milliliters of chemistry. So 35 millimeters is significantly less, is 290 milliliters. So you could almost double that number. So the kits are about 30 bucks. So it is worth the time. 1, to learn it, but 2, it can save you a lot of money if you're shooting color as opposed to paying a lab. So we're ready to load the film into the tank. So inside your changing bag, the film, the spool, film reel, and the tank all go in together. Zip it up. Put your arms in. This part is tricky to get used to, and it just takes some practice. It's probably the biggest hurdle in teaching yourself to develop film, at least in this manner. I mean, if you have a darkroom, it's a little different story, but just taking a roll of film and opening it up and sitting down and practicing with the spindle helps. And then when you're comfortable with it, then you can try doing it with your eyes closed, and then when you're totally ready, you can try it in the bag. Maybe not do your first roll of film on something really important. So if you're doing 120, the film is pretty curly. What I do is take the corners when it first separate from the paper and kind of bend them back just a little bit. It helps to get them started and not get caught up. And then on 120, on the end of it is masking tape. And I've had old film that's been either sitting around or is extra curly. On occasion, if you have trouble getting it to wind through the film reel, I've actually unwound it completely and then used the masking tape end as the starter and just did it backwards. So once you have the film loaded on the reel, you need to find the parts to the tank in here, put it on the spindle, and put it inside of the tank, and then put the tank lid that screws in, and it's light tight at that point. It allows you to dump the chemistry in without allowing light in. So the film is in there on the spindle, the reel. This thing is screw locked, so it's locked tight. It's amazing how you can lose something in a little tiny bag. And then you have your roll of film, and I removed the masking tape off of it too. I don't know if it affects the development or not. It's kind of just in good practice. So our chemistry is up to temp. The other thing you'll need is a timer. This is just a really basic kitchen timer. You could use your phone. It'll work. But what I do is, out of the bath is the developer, and I leave the thermometer in it to monitor the temperature and rinse it a little bit. And then I set it into the Blitz. And the Blitz is a little more forgiving in temperature. You have a little more of a range where the developer needs to be 102 exactly. So as soon as it goes in, the timer will start. And the first minute is just a soak. And then after that minute, 10 seconds of constant agitation. And with the Patterson tank, I use the little, I don't know what this is, stir stick. Basically, it fits inside of here, and it hooks on, and it spins the reel back and forth in the developer or the chemistry, whatever's in the tank at that time. So after a minute, it'll be 10 seconds of constant agitation, and then every 30 seconds, 3 to 4 agitations. And the agitations in the development process are pretty important as well. They need to be consistent. So you don't want to be rough with it, or it will just add more graininess to the film. So there's 1 minute soak, so I'll do 10 seconds of constant agitation, and I'm pretty gentle with it. I just want it to move around to mix the chemistry. And then it sits, and then at 3 minutes, then every 30 seconds, all the way through the developer. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll do that every 30 seconds through developer. Then the developer will get dumped. The next part is the Blitz. The Blitz goes through the same process. It's 6.5 minutes, a minute of soak, 10 seconds of agitation, and then every 30 seconds throughout that time will be 3 to 4 agitation. And while I'm doing this, I'll make sure that my Blitz is at a good temperature too, just to make sure that I'm ready to go as the time starts to wind down. So This is my last agitation on developer. So what I'll do is get ready for my Blitz, rinse that. Take the thermometer, check your temperature once again. I just spilled some. Careful of your Blitz too, it will stain. 5 seconds left. So developer out. I am dumping this, but if you were to just mix your chemicals, you would want to save that, so you just put it back in the beaker, then back in your container. We're doing 6.5 minutes on the Blitz. The Blitz goes in. Start your timer. First minute soak, and then repeat. 10 seconds of constant agitation, then every 30 seconds 3 to 4 agitations. After the Blitz, we'll rinse for 2 minutes, then stabilize. And the stabilizer has a little bit of agitation, and then it just soaks in it, and then we're ready. The film is ready to go. We'll take it out, squeegee it. There's 10 seconds of constant agitation, and I try to keep it consistent. With these, you can put the lid on and actually invert them over and over. And I do that with black and white, but with the color is a little more sensitive, and so I really have grown to like this right here because it's pretty mellow, the way you can agitate the film in the developer. "30 seconds, this will be the last of the agitations. And again, I'm getting rid of this batch of chemistry, but if you are just getting started, then you're going to save your Blitz as well. And we're going to rinse the film with cold water for 2 minutes, and then 1 minute of stabilizer. So I started at 3. What I do is just lightly run water, and I also use the stir stick, I'll call it. So once the tank is filled up, then I just agitate while it's rinsing. Usually the water comes out clean. I've never had like any excessive color or anything coming out of the tank. At this point too, your film is no longer light sensitive. It is good to go. The rinsing is getting off the chemistry, so it doesn't possibly continue to develop, and the stabilizer is to make the film so you can handle it for storage, scanning, those purposes. All the rinse water out. The stabilizer goes in. And this you'll agitate for 15 seconds continuous. And then we're going to let it soak for the rest of the minute. And same with this, you'll save your stabilizer for future rolls of film as well. Okay. Take it out. Ready to take a look at the film.
Thank you for watching. That was developing C-41 film. Here's a couple sample images of the roll that we just developed. I am not an expert or claim to be an expert, but I wanted to share my experiences in developing at home in my bathroom, and hopefully this video helped or answered a couple of questions.